morning, I'm Priscilla Jacobson, and I'm going to share a few concepts. If you find any information that's helpful here on this channel, please like and subscribe. These are a few concepts that I have that have been working for me in my business, but this can be applied from elementary school to the university level of thinking, and also self-help as your self-help personally and also for your businesses. Once again, I'm Priscilla Jacobson. What I do is for online or even looking at a book, I look at the chapter. So generally the lessons are in chapters, or when you're going to have a lesson like in a book, it's going to be more likely it's going to be on a chapter. So what I like to do is I actually just overview. And so when I overview it, I'm just going to try to get the framework of what this chapter is. And so what I do is mostly what I focus on are the titles. So I see all the titles here, and I keep scrolling, and I keep it in mind, even though I don't have all the content in mind. It's kind of Greek to me, but that's okay. I just keep seeing words that are kind of similar, and so when I look at the words, I just continue to, and then I notice that they start numbering in, like for instance, there's a title and then there's a subtitle, and these subtitles have numbers. For the titles have A, and then the subtitles have numbers. So then I just kind of look at all the numbers that those little subtitle numbers, and I'm just seeing how many. There's 6, there's 7, there's some videos. It goes all the way to, it breaks it down to 8. I believe 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm just paying attention to those titles, subtitles. It goes to 13, and then 14. Then it stops, and then it goes to B. So then it's just like thinking of the alphabet. So it's A, B, C. That's how they have it set up. And then the subtitles, they'll have like 1, 2, 3, and some of them had it all the way to 14. Now the B there's another title, and from the B, then it goes from 1, the subtitle is 1, 2, 3, there's 3 of them. I have to go back because I want to make sure that I don't skip anything. 1, 2, 3. I haven't seen 4, and then there's some videos. And so they only have 3 concepts on C. So, and so there's 1, 2, 3 subtitles. And then they have the letter C. And then the letter C is going to have, I see 1, and it's talking about a specific item. There's 1, and some videos. There's 2 and 3, and it's kind of wrapping that up, so yeah, it's wrapping it up, I think. And then it goes to the letter D. So there again, it only has 3. And then it has D, and D is a little interesting. The way they wrote this out is that they have a recap. So what I do is I try to pay attention, and what I do is I make sure that I can always go back to the recap. So the recap is what I'm going to really pay attention to. So I've already overviewed the whole chapter, but this recap is going to give me another view. It's just another view of as far as the recap is another view of the overview. And so it might give you some details, but not too much to where it gets cluttered. That's the important thing, is you don't want to have clutter in your brain. because you want to be able to get the right information and get, because you only have so much ability, and so everybody has their own ability, but you have only so much, and you want to get that information. You want to get the specific information, not a lot of information, but the quality information, so that when it's time to take quiz and tests, you'll be able to figure out, be able to remember those things that are important. And we'll talk more about remembering things. Now, with this chapter, what it does here is the recap. It talks about the same. It talks about an overview. So there's 3 portions of this chapter, and so I'll keep those in mind. And out of those 3, I just scrolled all the way to the bottom, and then I go right back up to the recap. And then I look at, on the left-hand side, it doesn't have numbers, it just has titles, and in those titles there's a text. To the right of it, it has the text or the grade, the boxes on the right. It'll give me some details regarding what the title is. And so then I just kind of scan over it with my eyes, and then I just go to the next title to the left, and then the right side it just has the title, and on the right side it has more detail, and there's just a couple of details, so that's pretty easy just to focus on one or the other, and usually it's going to be an opposite. Typically it will be an opposite, but not always. And then I go to the last second portion, and it's the same. I see 4 titles, and from those 4 titles I'll see, per title I'll see more details, and then the last portion is the same thing, 3 titles. So it's really nice the way they set this up, because they give you a lot of information, then they give you a little bit of information, and then less, and so that helps you to be able to process it. My first chapter I had forgotten how to study, so I had to kind of muddle through it, and then I realized I need to get back in that system. So so that was the overview of looking at the titles, and then the letters of A, B, and C, and D, then the numbers and the information, and then going to the recap. And when I go to the recap, being able to see the specific titles, and then over to the right of it, there's a box with more details, and try to think about, was there something that kind of matched when I was overviewing? Because if there was some things that were repeated or something that was matched, then it's going to be important, and that's something that you're really going to want to pay attention to. Go through and look at all the videos. The videos are really helpful. We're kind of trained on how to process videos in an easier state. So then I just go through all the videos and look at all the videos. Then I go back again, and then I begin to read. I read and read little by little. And once I feel that I'm not processing something, I'll take a second and I'll go take a real quick break, or I'll glance on the opposite side of the room. Like every 20 minutes, you want to be able to do that. My span for learning and being able, this is what I've been learning, is 2.5 hours. But with breaks, with being able to get up and go get a cup of tea or coffee, or just being able to get some water, and just being able to just be able to get back and refreshed again with a real quick little break. So that is my information for the how to overview. Now the next thing, what I do is, there are flashcards, and so what I do with my flashcards are, rather than, I'll just do a little quick glance right here, but what I do is, rather than making flashcards, I just make a page, and I just kind of fan them out. I fan them out, and so that I can be able to get to them right away, because I refer to those, especially when I do quizzes. Because if I'm stuck at something, I'm going to want to be able to go back and reread, and I'll look it up, and these are all in alphabetical order, so that's really nice. So I just look up my flashcards, I do take notes, so I have a notepad while I'm reading. But before I read, before I take my notes, my handwritten notes, so I'll get the flashcards, and then I'll make up my flashcards. And those ones, I'll just glance at them and look at them. I'll read them, but then I'm going to be referring to those flashcards. And then the next thing is I want to take my notes. And when I take my notes, my written notes from reading, what I do is I create an outline. So all of those letters, all those titles that I saw, I write the main title, then I write on the left-hand side, I'll write the titles. And there was 3 major titles, so I write those titles. And then when I write those titles, then I write, then I'll just create like a framework or a skeleton of my notes. So I'll write the main title, and then I'll write the regular titles on the left, and then the subtitles. And you know how it said subtitle 1, it'll say 1, 2, 3, all the way to 14, and so on. And then my title on the left-hand side will be an A, and then I'll have a B, and then I'll have a C. And then I write the subtitles, and then the numbers. So that is how I set up my framework of my notes. So when I get ready to write my notes, and I leave space enough so that I can write my notes. For instance, if I have a title here, here's my title, then I have my title, my regular title, then I have my subtitle, and you'll have my A, then I'll have my 1, 2, and then I'll have my subtitle, and then I'll have my numbers, 1, 2, all the way to 14. So I'm going to show you what I did right here. So I have my title here, then I have my regular title on the left-hand side, and then I have my subtitle, and then I have the numbers 1 through all the way to 14. And then I do that's for A, and then I would write a B section and then a C section. And I leave space so that I can be able to write my notes. And, you know, honestly, that has helped me somewhat, but not great. It's not been so helpful as much as looking at the videos and referring to the flashcards when I do the quiz. And then later on, I'll have to do the test. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is spaced repetition. And I'm going to get something real quick here in regards. And I got this online. And this has really been very helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you. And so basically what it is it's a graph that I got. You can look it up, and it's called space repetition, and how to memorize, how to remember information. So you can go to Google it. It's not a big secret, but anyways, what I do is I take, I want to be able to remember after my class or my lesson. So I take the first 10 minutes, you know, where I read or I'm looking at information, and I look at that. And after I look at that information, then the next day, I will review what I had learned. So before I even start in my lesson, I'll go back and I'll take the next day. So on next day, I'll just go review what my notes, review what I saw. Usually I'll review the videos, and I'll just where I left off. You know, I go back, start at the top, and then go right where I left off. I don't start the new video yet because I'm just reviewing right now. And then after I look at the video, then I go through my notes, you know, that I had written, or reread my chapter, either in the book or or online. So that's what I do. Then I repeat that. The third day. It says the next week, but because I have a time schedule that I need to be able to be able to stay on task. So I'm really in the learning mode right now. So rather than waiting a week to repeat it, the third day I do the same thing. I review. And so as you're learning, you're going to review quicker, but then you're going to review more information, which is okay. So then what I do is I just set it aside after I review it. Then I start my lesson again. I just spoken about. I'll overview again a real quick scan. And what you're doing is when you start getting key information, and you start receiving the repeated information. That's the good thing about reviewing, is you see it once, and then you see it again, and then you recognize that this information is important, and all the other information is not as important. What it does, it just supports it. So what you do is you start layering your understanding, and it gives it a chance. It gives that information to go into a different part of your brain, which is called the hippocampus. So the next thing is the following week it says to review again. So after I do my studies, when I do my studies, next week I'm going to review it again. And then by next month, I'll review it again. So it's basically a day, a week, and a month. But I did add the third day because to me right now I need to expedite my learning. So I do repeat it on the third day too. So it's the first day, the second day, I repeat on the third day, then the following week, and then the next month. I hope that information helps you. It really has helped me. And so when I started implementing this information on my second chapter, and it was quite easier. The first time I took my test was at 20. I got 20%, and it was like a fail. Then the second time I reviewed again, and I read, but I didn't take a long time. I just kind of looked and focused on the key points. Then I took my test again, and I your quiz. Take your quiz, and when you quiz yourself, give yourself grace and take it when it's the best part of the day for you. Mine is the morning. So I took it in the morning, and I went from 20% to like 84%. 70% will cause you to pass. But I was so grateful. I was so happy that I was able to implement this information. Give my information a chance to get into my hippocampus and be able to add the right information, and then be able to implement this quiz. So I hope that you guys have great success in your learning. A lot of parents have invested time, and when you invest the first 5 years of your children's time, and you invest quality time with them, that's an investment, and then you buy them the ability to go to college and upper level learning, and be able to invest. Maybe you help them in their businesses, to invest in their businesses if you're able to. And when you do that, what happens is when you do that, it's good to do that. It's good to implement that. But if you can give your children some wisdom and gems, that's the important thing, And so in applying these concepts, when you give them the ability to be able to go on to further learning, whether it's in grade school or university, if they can implement this overview and spaced repetition, that's a gem for them, because it'll just help them be less frustrated and be able to, they'll be able to expedite their learning. And you can do this on all levels. I also implement this with my Bible study. I just read one chapter a day as far as like in the Bible, and I also read the Psalms and a little bit of Psalms and Proverbs. But with my other book that I read, I try to reread it and listen to it. Sometimes I'll listen to audio too, just to remember and process and digest this information. So I just so glad that you got a chance to take a listen. I pray that you have a blessed day, and God bless. Goodbye.